This Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community, working in legislative, regulatory, and political arenas to promote the free enterprise system. Information at vachamber.com. Virginia hospitals and health systems provide jobs. They support our economy and promote public health. Local hospitals are always open to help people with unexpected health needs. Having a stable healthcare network is vital. Virginia hospitals are our lifeline.
It's amazing what my students with special needs can accomplish. Their pride is priceless. That's why I teach.
Brought to you by the Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.
Welcome to This Week in Richmond. This is 2017, but there's a big celebration that's going to be taking place all the way up through 2019, and a very special commemoration. And as our guest today, we're delighted to have Paul Koonce, who's the Executive VP of Dominion Resources, and the hat you're wearing today is you're one of President of the 2019 Commemoration Foundation. And we're going to have a conversation, but to help our viewers get a start, we're going to pause for a moment before you start talking and let them see a short video that helps tee up the matter of what we'll be talking about in the show. So Paul, thank you for being here, and our viewers will now see the video.
Today, right here, Virginia has the opportunity to send a message to the nation that we can begin a national dialogue about the ongoing evolution and how we should live as Virginians and as Americans.
2019 is an opportunity for every citizen in America to participate in the defining moment of this country.
The first representative legislative assembly in the New World. The first opportunity for people to have voice to government. The second seminal event of 1619 was the arrival of the first Africans to English North America off Old Point Comfort at Fort Monroe. This was the beginning of a very long history of the African American experience and impact. The third seminal event was the arrival of women to help stabilize the colony and to bring their special skills to expand its potential. The fourth event was the first English Thanksgiving, where the English settlers arrived at Berkeley Plantation, they got down on their knees and they gave thanks. Having the opportunity to learn about the places and the stories and the objects and artifacts of a period of time when America was forging, the experiences and the history and the challenges are very relevant.
To begin to acknowledge not only the real history that began in 1619, but the opportunity for us to make sure we get it right this time, that we start talking about what America really is, who really helped to found America, and who we are as not only a society, but a culture.
We have three themes: democracy, diversity, and opportunity. So let's start with democracy. And obviously things like the rule of law, representative government, and how you make that work in a modern society. Diversity, we have, of course, the clash of three cultures and what that meant 400 years ago, how that translates to today. And I think more important, how can we solve problems in the future? How can we come together and work on some of those issues? And opportunity, one of the things I'm excited about is just innovation, entrepreneurs. Obviously the Virginia company highlighted that. So we're going to really have a lot of different programs that deal with that. I can tell you that our millennials, especially today, they want to be entrepreneurs.
The 2019 commemoration is planning a whole host of events that includes signature programs, community events, outreach, awareness building. They're also supporting the creation of documentaries and publications on this particular important topic.
I think knowing your origins and knowing your history and why things happen are absolutely key. But it's more than a Virginia story. It really is a national story.
But also we're bringing in the average citizens all across Virginia.
We invite you to volunteer at the community level or at our events at a statewide level. We welcome your talents to lift up our programs and activities for all Virginians. What differentiates us from all other commemorations is over 3 years we plan 24 signature events. Our focus on millennials using the digital and social space, programs and activities that will reach all Americans, and national visibility that will have international significance.
In this commemoration, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for them to brand their corporations, but also to participate in a very meaningful historical lesson for all of America.
And we are ready to engage all Americans in understanding the importance of this place and the early Africans who, along with the native people and English settlers, forged this great nation. The long and painful journey that began in 1619 is Hampton's history. It's Virginia's history, but most importantly, it's America's history.
This commemoration is about our history, our heritage, and what it means to you and your community where you are. So let us help you. Please reach out to us at www.americanevolution2019.com to learn more about how partnerships will be the opportunity for engagement.
Paul, we've seen the video now. How did this all get started? Not the history of what started in 1619, but this whole concept of commemoration, and tell us a little bit of the background.
Well, yes, David, thank you for having me. Really, it got its genesis back in the 2016 General Assembly. I'm a part of the Jamestown-Yorktown Foundation Board of Trustees.
Right.
We were the state agency that was assigned the responsibility for the 2007 commemorative, celebrating 400 years of Jamestown. And as we got close to this date, the General Assembly once again turned to the Jamestown-Yorktown Foundation and asked that agency to take the lead. So really starting with General Assembly action up to today, we've been planning and organizing for what we think is going to be a really special time for the Commonwealth, and we think even for the nation.
Will most everything be happening down in the Jamestown-Yorktown area, since that's where the history began?
Yeah, that's where the history began, and that's a great point, and I think that's really what's going to separate it from the 2007 commemorative. The 2007 commemorative was an anniversary that took place at a place and a time. The 2019 commemorative we think is going to be very different. Certainly the events that put in motion what we know today in terms of representative government, what we know in terms of diversity and opportunity, those events took place in that area in 1619, but much of that story is still being told. So we think it's a tremendous opportunity to really broaden out and host scholarly works, host commemorative events throughout the Commonwealth. So we believe it's going to be much more inclusive than just the historic triangle, although nobody can deny the importance of that history.
Sure. Well, I think from looking on the website, and our viewers will see that address almost constantly during the show to help them know where to go to get more information, that there's an event at Charlottesville, for instance, is one of the ones where you're getting outside of the triangle.
Yes, yes, yes. Tom Tom Founders Festival, which will be next month in Charlottesville. It is what we believe a premier festival to celebrate innovation, entrepreneurship, which is an important part of the story of the Commonwealth, and so what we are doing is partnering with them. So in some cases what we will be doing is finding activities that are occurring around the state and partnering with them to sort of lift up and highlight its importance to the overall story of 2019. And other times we will be actually putting on programs ourselves. But in this case, yes, starting next month, we will partner with TomTom Fest to really begin talking about the importance of innovation and entrepreneurship in the Commonwealth and even beyond.
So whether they're in Lee County in the extreme part of the state or over on the eastern shore, wherever, there's opportunities for local nonprofits, local government groups, or others, if they have some event, to work on tying it into the commemoration?
Yeah, we look forward to working with all of our communities throughout the Commonwealth to really highlight of these three themes: diversity, democracy, diversity, and opportunity. How can we bring those themes to your community, lift up what you're doing in that community so that you can be a part of this commemorative? And in fact, it's not state bound. You know, we look to partner with agencies outside of the state because I think we all value the importance of what took place in Virginia. But our research says that when you talk to folks outside of Virginia, they know that these events were integral to the formation of our country. And so this is an opportunity for us to tell that story, not just throughout the Commonwealth, but really throughout the nation.
So I would jump into tourism then. It looks like that would really be potentially something that would tie in perfectly.
Yeah, we've got our eye on tourism promotion. There's no doubt about it. I mean, what's good for the Commonwealth is having visitors come to our state. So really, you know, we've focused on really kind of three main themes. One, reestablishing the Commonwealth's position as the home of innovation. The Virginia Company was the original entrepreneur enterprise in the New World. So we want to rebrand or reestablish that image. We want to educate. We want to really have opportunities to talk about inclusion, talk about opportunity. So there's many ways that we can engage both the higher ed institutions, K through 12, and really educate all along these themes. And then, as you said, to promote tourism, get people to come to the state, spend time here, be a part of our community, and spend money. Yes, so tourism is part of it.
I suppose that if this will be a very successful event, that finally will get the folks in Plymouth to agree that the first Thanksgiving was here in the Commonwealth.
Well, that's interesting. You know, now Plymouth, just to set the record straight, occurred in 1621.
That's right.
And really what happened at Berkeley 100, the first religious Thanksgiving, Captain John Leaf, when he left to come to the colony, he traveled with written instructions to host a religious ceremony when he arrived and to do it perpetually. So as we like to say, there have been Thanksgivings occurring through time. The Native Americans obviously gave thanks when there were bountiful crops.
Right.
But this was what we call the first perpetual Thanksgiving, which was a religious ceremony, and it occurred in Virginia in 1619, not at Plymouth in 1621.
And when you mentioned the Native Americans, I did see on the site that you referred to the first perpetual English Thanksgiving in this land.
Yes, yes.
Recognizing that there were Thanksgivings before.
No doubt, and we need to be sensitive to that history. And I mean, this history is so rich in so many ways. We really are making sure that we refer to this as a commemorative, not a celebration, because this history is sensitive, it's rich, and we want to make sure that we pay our respects as we talk about how these events have interwoven themselves to recreate what we believe is society today, and it's not finished. So we need to always be mindful that this is an ongoing story that we're continuing to tell.
To me, one of the key words you said in that paragraph was it was a commemorative and not a celebration, because when you and I or others think about the first Africans coming to this country in 1619, that's nothing that we celebrate today.
Quite right. The first Africans arrived to English North America in August of 1619. There were 20 or so, 20 and odd, on the ship, the White Lion. and that is something that we really kicked off the commemorative last August at Fort Monroe to really recognize that that is a very important story that we need to be very, very accurate in how we tell it.
Right. And the first women, too, that same year.
Well, that same year, yeah, in the fall of 1619, the Virginia Company recognized that the enterprise was never going to be successful until they seeded family life in the new colony. So in 1619, in the fall, they put forth a concerted effort to recruit women to come to the English colony. Now, there had been Native American women here, there had been English women here, but really as a part of the exploration of the land. This was the first recognition that if the land is going to be settled and it's going to be prosperous, that there needed to be women, and that was a core part of family structure and self-governance. So the Virginia Company in the fall of 1619 recruited about 90 women to come to the new colony. They actually arrived in May of 1620, but the recognition that this was core to the foundation of our country, I think, is a very important recognition even then.
What are some of the other aspects of the education part that you would want to highlight?
Well, there's a lot of work happening in the education space. What we are doing is partnering with both the community colleges, the four-year institutions, as well as the K through 12 institutions. For example, in K through 8, we'd like to develop and are developing e-learning tools, or more or less games.
Excellent.
So that you can expose them to games around self-governance, inclusion. So that would sort of be what you would expect in the K through 8 curriculum. Once you get in the high schools, I think what we expect to see is TED-type programs where you can go online and you can view conversations that take place around these themes, democracy, diversity, and opportunity. And then, of course, when you get to higher education, we really look forward to some very deep scholarly works on each of self-governance, diversity, the importance of diversity, and of course we know from business that the more diverse your workforce, the more successful your company is. And of course opportunity, we just think that Virginia is a great place for startups, and we'd like to really do some work to highlight that. So if you're thinking about starting a business, you either come to Virginia or you stay here.
So those TED-type talks then you see being developed 2017, 18, or will they just be unveiled in 19, or what's?
No, we have a series of programs that really, in fact, have already begun. I mentioned the arrival of First Africans last August at Fort Monroe. Next month we've got Tom Tom's Founders Fest, where we'll talk about innovation and entrepreneurship. So over the next 3 years, we'll have a series of programs where we'll be convening groups and focusing either on one of the themes or all three themes, depending on what the location is and what the activity. For example, we would like to have a Global Emerging Leaders Conference where you convene people under 40 from all around the world, both business and academic, and talk about the importance of democracy. Create a cohort where they now have friends around the world that they can call on. Bring in folks from the United States to convene with them. So we've got a lot of activities over the next 3 years that will touch on all three themes. And as you said, we'd encourage people to go to our website to see the events that are coming up and find ways that they can participate.
So when it's 2020,
yes,
and you're looking back as you would anyone in evaluating,
yes,
what will be some of the high marks that you think that will say that was successful? It was worth the volunteer effort.
Yes.
It was worth the resources. It was worth doing. What are the takeaways in 2020?
Well, I think there are many, but two I'll just hit on quickly. One, we'll look at the numbers. The 2007 commemorative generated over $1 billion in sales, of almost 30 million of state and local taxes, and 22,000 jobs. So once we look at 2019, we would like to total up the economic impact and believe that we achieved or exceeded the 2007 commemorative. We think we can. The events are there to do that. But more importantly, we are also working on legacy projects. We have 9 legacy projects that will continue beyond the commemorative. For example, the Visitor Center and Education Center at Fort Monroe. We are doing work to complete that Visitors and Education Center. The Women's Monument on the Capitol grounds. There will be many things that we believe through the 2019 commemorative we will be able to permanently fix around the state so that 2019 continues to educate and teach for years and years to come. So when 2020 gets here, it won't be over.
Right, right. Now, say a bit more about Fort Monroe and what's happening there, because there are viewers, whether they're in the central part of the state or maybe even some over in the Hampton Roads area, but haven't been to Fort Monroe, and at least not in recent years.
Yes, yes. I mean, Fort Monroe is an amazing piece of property to begin with, but it's where we look to the arrival of first Africans, and so we've taken the library at Fort Monroe and we're turning it into a visitor and education center. So people can travel to Fort Monroe and they can really research the history of Africans arriving in English North America and really embrace what took place there, and then take that back to their own community so that they can appreciate what's happening in society today, but have it in sort of the historical context. It'll be a permanent library, museum, education center, and something we're very excited to be a part of.
And the women's monument, or monuments,
yes.
however it will be here on Capitol Square, it's good to hear that this 2019 commemoration's tied in with it too.
Yeah, we really think that that's going to be an important part of the 2019 commemorative, to complete the fundraising for the monument and have women represented on our Capitol grounds. We think it'll be the first state in the Union where that will have taken place. And we think that that's important given our history and the involvement of women dating back to 1619. So that's going to be an ongoing living legacy that we're proud to be a part of.
And you've mentioned that you can go on the website and they can get more information about educational programs as well as these legacies. Are they starting to be unveiled there too?
Yes, we're putting all the information out there on the website. We think that this is going to be the first digital commemorative where people can actually go online, they can view programs that take place, whether it's panel discussions, they can get educational information.
Yeah.
So we really have put a real focus on digital because we know that's where millennials go to learn. And so yes, please visit our website, American Evolution 2019, and you'll see it all there, and we're real excited about that.
Well, that would be so helpful to teachers in the public school system, private schools, homeschoolers, or whatever,
yes.
youngsters of any of those settings, educational settings, to be able to experience it without having to necessarily rent the bus and take a trip.
No doubt, and that's when and this history needs to be shared with everybody, and we need to do it in a way that, as you point out, we'd like for you to come to Virginia. We'd like for you to spend 2 or 3 days visiting the sites, but if you can't, we really want you to appreciate the history and really the role that the Commonwealth played in the formation of our country.
Which I would certainly, as a Virginian, would hope that American history, as it's taught in the other 49, would be able to use some of these resources as well.
Exactly. It's there for everybody. It's universal. It's not in dispute, and so we really want to do all that we can to get as many people involved as we can, so that we can learn and we can appreciate when we read the papers today, the tensions that take place. Those tensions are not new. They've been playing out for quite some time.
And in closing, we will hope that the good folks in Plymouth would acknowledge that there was a Thanksgiving celebration of English in this land before theirs.
Well, and we don't. It's not a competition.
No.
Giving thanks is important. We
Right.
should all give thanks. So we applaud what they are doing, and we're looking forward to our commemorative as well.
Spoken well, and I thank you for being on This Week in Richmond.
Thanks,
you.
David.
Thank you.
Week in Richmond is made possible in part by Dignity Memorial, caring for our communities with a network of funeral homes and cemeteries in Virginia and throughout North America. More information about Dignity Memorial's providers is online at dignitymemorial.com. The Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the voice of the Virginia business community. For jobs, the economy, and public health, Virginia Hospitals, our lifeline.
The Virginia Education Association, because a good education is good for everybody.
Additional support is provided by these sponsors. And by the members of Virginia's public television stations. Thank you.